Imagine the stadium lights burning brighter than ever, the crowd roaring like a storm, and the clock ticking down with no hope left on the board. The 49ers are trailing, the defense is crushing every attempt, and even the commentators whisper, "This game is over." But in the chaos, one man refuses to surrender. Joe Montana, calm as ice, scans the field with that unshakable gaze. What happens next is so unreal, so impossible that even his teammates couldn't believe it. Was it destiny, pure skill, or a miracle written in football history? This wasn't just another comeback. It was the moment that redefined the NFL and cemented Montana's legend. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, you'll relive the play that shocked millions, silenced critics, and made Joe Montana immortal. The night felt heavy, almost cursed, as the San Francisco 49ers lined up against an opponent that had already tasted victory in their minds. The scoreboard told a cruel story. Time was running out, the gap seemed unbridgeable, and the energy inside the stadium had shifted. Thousands of fans who once screamed with unshakable hope now sat in silence, clutching their faces in disbelief. Commentators' voices carried the weight of finality. There's simply no way back from this. Every passing second was like a dagger. The defense across the line looked like monsters, towering and hungry, ready to crush Montana's every attempt. His teammates, breathing hard, exchanged nervous glances. Some had already accepted defeat, others whispered silent prayers. The field itself felt suffocating, a battlefield drenched in sweat, echoing with doubt. But in the middle of chaos stood one man who didn't flinch. Joe Montana, helmet gleaming under the floodlights, carried an expression of almost eerie calm. Where everyone saw an ending, he was already sketching a beginning. To the world, it looked impossible. To Montana, it looked like an opportunity waiting to explode. The question wasn't if he would try, it was how far he could bend destiny. As the final minutes ticked away, the stadium felt like a sinking ship. Panic and pressure weighed heavily on every player wearing red and gold. Except one. Joe Montana walked into the huddle with a composure that felt almost unreal. His voice wasn't trembling, his eyes didn't wander. He looked at his teammates as if they weren't seconds away from collapse, but seconds away from glory. "Breathe," he said firmly, steadying the storm inside them. He cracked a half smile, the kind you'd never expect from a man about to face one of the fiercest defenses in football. Some players later admitted they thought he was joking, trying to lighten the moment. But no, this was Montana's way. He thrived in chaos. He made the impossible feel routine. Around him, men fidgeted, hearts pounding in their chests, sweat dripping under helmets. But Montana's calm was contagious. Slowly, the nervous whispers in the huddle gave way to silent focus. The crowd's roar faded into background noise. All that remained was the rhythm of the game. In that instant, Montana transformed a team of doubters into believers. Before the storm could rage, he had already set the tone. This was not the end. It was the beginning. The ball was snapped, and the entire stadium held its breath. Every yard now felt like a war zone. Montana took the first step back, eyes scanning the field with laser focus. The defense crashed toward him like a tidal wave, but his release was flawless. Quick dart, complete. The chains moved and the impossible dream flickered alive. Play after play, Montana chipped away at the impossible. A slant to the right, a sideline bullet, a perfectly timed run. Every decision sharpened the tension. With each first down, the crowd's silence began to crack, turning into desperate rising cheers. The opponent's defense grew restless, furious that this man refused to break. The clock kept bleeding away, but Montana never rushed. It was as if he was playing at his own pace, in his own world, while everyone else panicked. Each snap felt like destiny tightening its grip. The 49ers weren't just moving the ball, they were rewriting fate. By now, the energy was electric. Fans on their feet, hands trembling, voices rising. Something bigger than football was happening here. Something no one in the stadium could truly believe. And yet, with Montana at the helm, belief was all they needed. The drive had led them deep, but one final strike was needed. The clock was dying, the tension unbearable. Joe Montana jogged back to the line of scrimmage, his eyes cold, his heartbeat steady. The defense snarled, ready to crush him once and for all. This was it, the moment that would either bury the 49ers or make them immortal. The snap came. Montana dropped back, the pocket collapsing around him like a prison. He sidestepped one rusher, then another, moving with the grace of a man untouched by fear. The crowd gasped. For a second, it looked like he would be swallowed whole. But then, Montana lifted his arm. The ball left his hand, spiraling through the night air, perfect and pure. Time seemed to slow, the stadium frozen in suspense. The receiver sprinted toward the corner, defenders closing fast, and then the impossible happened. The catch. The silence shattered into a roar so deafening it shook the stands. Commentators screamed in disbelief. Fans hugged strangers, tears streaming down their faces. It wasn't just a touchdown, it was a miracle, a play carved into the soul of football itself. In that moment, Joe Montana didn't just throw a pass, he rewrote history. The final whistle blew, but the sound was almost drowned out by the thunder of the crowd. Fans weren't just cheering, they were screaming, crying, and shaking their heads in disbelief. This wasn't the kind of joy that comes from an ordinary win. No, this was something deeper. It was as if everyone inside that stadium knew they had witnessed a piece of history that would live forever. On the field, Montana didn't raise his arms in wild celebration. He didn't need to. His calm nod to his teammates said everything. We did it. That quiet confidence only deepened the legend. Where others would have screamed with emotion, Montana carried himself like a man who had expected this outcome all along. His teammates, though, couldn't hold back. Helmets were tossed in the air. Players embraced. Some fell to their knees in relief. They knew they had just been part of something that would be told and retold for decades. The night Joe Montana turned an impossible situation into a masterpiece. Across the NFL, the game sent shockwaves. Analysts scrambled for words, commentators replayed the final throw again and again, and newspapers the next day were filled with headlines screaming about the miracle comeback. For fans of football, it wasn't just a highlight, it was a moment that redefined what was possible. From that night onward, Montana was no longer just a quarterback. He was the quarterback. His coolness under pressure earned him the immortal nickname, the Comeback Kid. Whenever the 49ers trailed in the years to come, there was no panic in the locker room. Teammates didn't look at the scoreboard, they looked at Montana. Because as long as he was under center, hope was alive. That comeback became the standard by which all future comebacks would be measured. It taught the world that greatness isn't about easy wins, it's about facing the edge of defeat and refusing to let go. It showed that leadership isn't loud speeches or flashy gestures, it's calm eyes in the storm, the belief that carries a team when nothing else does. The 1980s would go on to be remembered as the golden era of the San Francisco 49ers, and Montana was the beating heart of it all. But ask any fan, and they'll tell you, it all truly began with that night, with that throw, with that drive. Even today, decades later, fans still argue, was it skill, luck, or destiny? Maybe it was all three. What's undeniable is this. Joe Montana's comeback that night was more than a win. It was a symbol of resilience, a story of belief, and a reminder that legends are born in the moments when the world thinks you're finished. If you felt the thrill of this comeback, imagine the countless untold stories waiting to be discovered. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your fellow football fans, and subscribe to the channel for more incredible tales from the NFL's golden era. And remember, history is written by those who refuse to quit.